Alright YouTube, so today guys we are talking about the possibility of Nintendo releasing a Super Nintendo Classic Edition later this year. The Super Nintendo is on a lot of people's favorite game system lists, usually at the very top. Like a lot of people will have the Super Nintendo as their favorite game system of all time. I actually did not own one growing up, which is kind of weird. I have played, all the classics, all the Mario games and shit like that, and some of the old school RPGs like Chrono Trigger and things. I've played all the good games on the Super Nintendo, but I never actually owned one. I kind of skipped it. I went from the Nintendo to either the N64 or the PlayStation. I for sure owned a PlayStation. For some reason, I cannot remember if I owned an N64 growing up. So it just kind of makes sense that they would eventually come out with a Super Nintendo Classic. A lot of websites over the past day or two have been reporting about this rumor. We're pulling our story from our article from Polygon.com, but there's plenty of other sites out there, and they're all referencing Eurogamer. Eurogamer, I guess, is the one who kind of stirred up this rumor. Eurogamer is reporting that a SNES Classic Edition is on the way to replace the recently discontinued NES Classic Edition. The SNES Mini, or to continue Nintendo's official branding, likely the Nintendo Classic Mini Super Nintendo Entertainment System, that's a hell of a fucking name, is currently scheduled to launch in time for Christmas this year, Eurogamer states. Development of the device is already underway, our sources have indicated. The sourcing is thin, but the release of a Super Nintendo Classic Edition is one of the possible, if not likely, reasons we came up with for the discontinuation of the NES Classic Edition. Nintendo has enough classic systems and games to keep each release smaller than demand, guaranteeing artificial scarcity in headlines for years. The hardware in the NES Classic Edition was already overpowered when it comes to emulation, giving the included chips plenty of room to emulate other systems. If you're not fluent in the world of ARM-powered systems on a chip, isn't everyone though? The NES Classic Edition hardware is a lot more powerful than a NES, and it's even more powerful than a 3DS, we explained. While it surely doesn't have to be this powerful, the market-based realistics assure that buying a new chip at volume will be cheaper than designing a custom chip or something with less of a market. Eurogamer also has a decent track record for Nintendo rumors, detailing many aspects of the Nintendo Switch back in July of last year that turned out to be accurate. While there aren't many details about the SNES Classic Edition hardware given in the story, the source of the rumors give them a bit more weight than they would have coming from other outlets or sources. So what would we like to see from a SNES Classic Edition? The first improvement would be more inventory at launch with better replenishment in the first few months of availability, or at least a pre-order program to help fans get their hands on the damned things. Longer cables on the controllers would also be welcome, as would standard USB connections rather than the Wiimote port for the controllers. Using a proprietary connector was silly last year, and it's silly now. If Nintendo wants to keep it proprietary, why not just use the original SNES controller port so our existing controllers work? And for the love of all that is holy, make sure you put ActRaiser on the damn thing. That was a great game, by the way. This seems like a no-brainer from Nintendo, but Nintendo is a company that seems to drop the ball on many of its no-brainers. So me personally, I don't think that the console itself is the rumor. I think the date is, because I think it just makes all the sense in the world, as I mentioned previously, that they're going to make a Super Nintendo Classic at some point, because this is one of the best systems ever. It's a lot of people's favorite system. There's so very many good games on this console. It is just great because I think they have a lot of their games on like the Nintendo eShop thing. I don't know what it's called on Wii, but I think on like the Wii and Wii U you can buy games virtually, maybe even the Switch, and probably the 3DS as well. But this would be a good way for everybody to have it, at home on a separate console. You don't have to turn on your Wii or your 3DS or whatever the case to play these old school games that all be in here for one decent price. They're usually, the Nintendo Classic was a pretty decent price. I imagine this would be the same. I would like to see a lot more games though, of course, because the NES Classic had a lot of games and a lot of big, top tier games, like the popular ones that everybody played. I'd like to see the same thing with this console, maybe even more of a selection. Some ideas for games they could put on the SNES Classic, just to add to the library, would be Earthbound and its sequels. Looking online, and I could be wrong on this, I believe we never got the sequels to Earthbound, though I think Earthbound 2 and 3 were only ever released in Japan, or Mother, whatever you want, that's what it's called in Japan, it's called Mother, it's called Earthbound here. This could be something they could finally do, because I think the only way to play it here in America is to emulate it online, which of course is illegal, but I mean, what are your options, right? You can import it from Japan, but it won't be translated, so you really have no other options other than emulation here in America. This could be a way they could I think Earthbound and its sequels would sell the fucking console by themselves alone, not to mention all the good, Metroid and Mario games and shit like that, like all the old school RPGs and shit. Like, these games could sell the console by themselves because we've never had them in here in America, and that would be some big fucking news. As always, guys, let me know your thoughts on this story below and this rumor. Obviously, it's going to happen at some point, so let me know what games you'd like to see on this inevitable release of this console. Right now, the rumor really for me is only what the date is. Hopefully it'd be this year. I think that's not that hard to... It can't be that hard to develop, right? It's pretty much just put a fucking emulator in a casing that looks like a Super Nintendo. That's all it really takes. It can't be that fucking hard to make. So I wouldn't be surprised if it came out Christmas of this year. But let me know some games you'd like to see on the Super Nintendo Classic Edition whenever it finally comes out. Anyways, guys, if you want to enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Follow me on Twitter. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
Till it comes to conclusions, all the things that we thought we were losing. I'm a ghost and you know this. That's why we broke up in the first place. 'Cause I want you.